How do you know when to quit? How do you know when to throw in the towel, when you stop putting in the effort? When is it time to walk away? Welcome to the Art of Plenty. Today we're talking about quitting and whether or not it's a good idea, a bad idea, and what are the resistances that we can face because of quitting and the feeling of quitting. Enter the lemon tree. I was given this beautiful tree. Well, let me change that. I don't know that my lemon tree was ever beautiful. When it came from the nursery, it already was a little bit quirky. You know, when you go and you choose a plant, you're looking for balance and you're looking for the shape of the tree and for things to be healthy. This lemon tree never had a traditionally beautiful, balanced look. It was always a little bit quirky, always a little bit heavier on one side, which the reason why you choose trees, plants that are looking more healthy is because they often are more healthy. But this was it. This was the only tree when I was given this tree. And I actually love quirky plants and quirky trees. I have a fig tree that's very quirky. In fact, my aunt has teased me about it because it doesn't have this beautiful full look that a fig tree should potentially have. But I just like things that are a little bit unusual, a little bit asymmetrical. So I was given this lemon tree, and the year that I was given it was when I was going through cancer treatments. So I have a certain amount of sentimentality towards this lemon tree. And it's not just because it was given to me by my family or my kids. My family and kids have given me lots of gifts that I have had no problem getting rid of, no problem passing along. I'm not sentimentally attached to everything that my children give me. That's so not how I am in my bones. But there's something about growing something. There's something about life and beauty in plants. And it gives you a sense of what's coming. It gives you a sense of the future, of hope. At least that's what trees and plants do for me. And so there's a connection to me between being sick and seeing this tree or having this tree at that time in my life. Okay, so lemon trees are incredibly fragrant. They have these beautiful blooms, and then they grow lemon fruit. Amazing. I love lemons. I love cooking with lemons. The first year, I think we got something like 3 or 4 lemons, which I thought was amazing. This is an indoor lemon tree, if I hadn't stated that already. I live up north. We don't necessarily grow citrus in our orchards, although there is such a thing as citrus in the snow. Super cool project. But I digress. Back to the lemon tree. Then I noticed that my lemon tree had this kind of white filmy stuff on it, and the leaves were incredibly sticky. I noticed that it got these brown bugs, and on the bark you could almost not see them. They would kind of blend in, but they would hide underneath the leaf, and then the more that get on the leaf kind of dies and it turns color. And before you know it, I have very little foliage on this little lemon tree. It's not a very big tree. It's tiny, and I was a little bit disappointed. I'm like, okay, the lemon tree's sick. What do we need to do to help the lemon tree get back to a place where it's healthy and can be producing fruit? And how do we keep the lemon tree from infesting the bugs that are on the lemon tree, infesting the other plants that I have in my house? And at that time, we were thinking that, prior to that, we were planning on building. So I had been starting to think about the plants that I wanted for our new house, because the house that we were in was small, and full of plants, but I wanted to grow more plants so that when we got into the new house, we would have plants for various rooms, not just one area. And when I say full of plants, it's not really. I have some friends, and every inch of space in their home has a plant, and every shelf has a plant, and every room has plants. That is not how my house is, but the living room where I do keep plants, there's a lot of them. And I want to have that in my new house because, again, having the green, having the growth, it makes my house feel healthier and happier to me. So I'm trying to grow more plants for the new house. So I'm thinking about all this. I get this beautiful gift and now it's infested. And I don't know the timeline when the lemon tree actually first started to get sick, because I've had this lemon tree for almost 6 years. And I've been working on the infestation for at least a year. It might even be 2 seasons, like 2 full cyclical years that I've been working on the infestation. So I went to my mom because my mom is way more of a green thumb than I am. I am not very good at gardening. In fact, when we first were married, I had these aloe plants because I had a good friend whose mom grew aloe plants, and the aloe plants that they had in their home were older than my friend. At that time, we were in our 20s, and her mom's aloe plants were over 30 years old, if I remember correctly. And they were ginormous and beautiful, and I just remember really liking it. I remember liking the idea that you could grow a plant that big and that it took a certain amount of time to get there. And for me, plants and flowers, there's a memory part of it for me. The flowers that I choose to keep in the garden are things and flowers that remind me of different people or different seasons in my life. It's a way of being nostalgic without collecting stuff, I guess. So I was growing aloe plants when we were first married, and we would come home and the aloe plant would be beside the pot and there would be like a trail of dirt. And my husband used to tease me saying that my aloe plants jumped. And I knew nothing about gardening. I haven't looked up why they did this, but it was happening on a frequent basis that I would come home and my aloe plant would have launched itself out of the pot. Okay, so this is where I'm coming from. I'm seeing this infestation on my lemon tree. I know that I'm not particularly skilled. I'm going to the people that I know are skilled to help me. And my mom has an arborist friend, a person that knows tons and stuff about trees. So she's talking to that person about lemon, and we come up with a plan of what to do. And I start treatment. And I've been told, I think it's spider mites. I think that's what they had said. And because we took one of the damaged leaves with the bugs on it into this person. And what they said was these are extremely difficult to get rid of. And I'm telling you, I am one of those people who does not quit very often. I have no problem pushing into things and really sinking into it and continuing to persevere, because I have this ingrained belief that breakthrough could be tomorrow, that success is just around the corner, that it's when you stop moving forward that things are done, that's when the failure is. So it is really difficult for me not to keep going with things, and I just seen that as a challenge. Okay, well, this is hard, it's going to take effort, but we can do it. We can deal with the infestation. I'm washing my plant every couple days. Every leaf, I'm cleaning it. I've repotted the plant. This is going on for 2 years. I've repotted it, new soil, bleached the pot, cleaned the pot, changed the pot, washed the leaves again, try different products to kill it. I'm monitoring it. I'm checking it. I'm faithfully doing this, sometimes days in a row. Then I'm not seeing bugs, thinking it's okay. I'm fertilizing. I'm doing everything they told me to do and more. Still, the infestation comes back. So then my next thing is, okay, it's summer. This is last year. I'm like, I'm just going to put the lemon tree outside, because maybe if it's outside, I've cleaned it, I've done all those things again. Maybe if I put it outside, that'll help to prevent the stuff from coming back onto the plant. And it works. I actually got a lemon last year. But don't you know, it's all back. It is all back, and it is worse than it has ever been before. And I haven't had the heart to do anything about it because I am deflated and I am disappointed and I am frustrated. And I don't know if I do something, if it's even going to make a difference. And I think that's probably the hardest part is what if I go through all of this all over again and the lemon tree is still infested? That, like, what if there's no success here? What if I do not have the skills or the time, or what if I don't have it in me to help this lemon tree get healthy? So when do you actually know if it's time to quit? And that idea of quitting is such a hard thing to get your head around, especially in the times that we live in, because quitting seriously has a bad rep. We have this cultural idea of grit, of perseverance, that hard things make us better, that we can overcome, that we can do it. And as a society, as a culture, we celebrate it because there's so many fantastic benefits to doing all of those things, to persevering, to working things through, to doing hard things. And so when you're thinking about quitting, you're coming up against all of that cultural resistance that that's not a good idea. Even the things that I say to my kids, well, you signed up for this, you're in it for the long haul. Like, you're doing this until it's over because you made a commitment. We really value commitment. And I think there's also a component society-wise that could be some fear of judgment when it comes up to quitting things. Fear that, oh, we're unreliable, we're lazy, we weren't willing to put in the time, we're inconsistent, we're flaky. Now, can we just pause for a second? Nobody's making those judgments about me if I decide to let my lemon tree go. But quitting on my lemon tree, it's just a lemon tree. But what about other things in our life that we have to decide if we're quitting? Right? What about relationships? Not just with spouses, but with friends. What about projects? What about careers, jobs? There are a lot of things that have a lot of consequence, a lot of value, where if you were to quit, all of that judgment would be coming your way in full force. The other big reason that quitting gets such a bad rep is that idea of that sunk cost fallacy. So basically what that means is the more time, the more energy, the more effort that you put in towards that project, that relationship, that career, that education, that lemon tree, the harder it is to step away from it. Because when you look at that thing, you see the investment that you've made. And it's hard to separate and walk away, even when it's maybe the most rational, best thing that you can do. So how do you know what to do? How do you actually know when to quit? If it's time to quit, if it's time to throw in the towel? Well, when the cost is too high. So what are you giving up in order to maintain this thing? And in the case of the lemon tree, the amount of work, because I've done it, because I've cleaned the tree and been so diligent, I know how many hours. And those hours, if I decide to go back into the lemon tree, that cost is so much higher because I know what the time frame is. And I know also that it may not work. So that's a piece. Are there better opportunities? Is there better places that could use your energy, that could use your time, that could use your effort if you were to switch? Because time is a bit finite, right? So are our other resources. Here's another thing. Does it persistently make you miserable? Yes, there's discomfort when we're trying to grow. But is this long-term unhappiness? I'm telling you, when I looked at that lemon tree and I saw more and more bugs and more infestation on those leaves, honestly, I haven't even had the heart to do anything about it. I've just been staring at it, thinking, do I really want to try again, or am I done? There is something that happens when your hope is deferred. It has a way of making your heart sick. And I see this a lot in the couples that I work with as a marriage therapist. You can see when the hope is leaving the relationship. And there's so much sadness that comes around that. And the longer it takes, the more your hope, what you're believing for, what you're planning is going to happen, the more that gets pushed and the finish line moves, the more it gets deferred, the harder it is emotionally on the people involved. And that's the other thing about when you're considering quitting is that goalpost continuing to move? The idea of cleaning the lemon tree once or 3 times or having to do it every day for a week is very different when you do it for a week and you keep up on stuff for 2 years and then you look and the tree's never been as bad as it is now. That's what that means. It's accomplishment is always just out of reach. And on the flip side, when I think about perseverance, I always think breakthrough could be the next step. It could be just around the corner. You do not know how close you are. And so it's that same, but it's in the reverse. It's that same thinking, like you don't know when you're actually going to get there. The last point that I want to share about deciding, is it time to quit? And this one really hits true for me because I'm a values girl, is that project, is that situation no longer aligned with your values or your goals? When you first started out, it could be like when you first start out in a career, that career might have been very much in line with what you're trying to do, where you're wanting to go with your life. And that might be the perfect job for that time. But as you go through the job and you learn more about the job and you start to develop more as a person, you might find that it's starting to split. Where things were very aligned for you, your values are no longer aligned. So sticking with that, you're feeling that pull, that separation between what it is that you know you need to do and what it is that you want to do and what you're able to do in the career. I think value misalignment is huge because when your values aren't being honored, it puts you in such an uncomfortable position. And it's hard to shift things because your values are not going to shift. So those things are some of the things that I'm thinking about when I'm trying to decide when to quit. But the other piece around this is, what is the cost to you? So the cost of investment gets high, but what is the cost if you do quit? What's the loss? Because even if it's a good thing, even if quitting is the right choice, there's probably going to be some level of loss. Because if there wasn't, you already would have quit and you wouldn't have worried anything about it. For me, there's a sentimental attachment to that tree because of the season of my life when I got it, because of who it's from, and because it's sick. And I was sick when I got it, and I want it to be well. And I know, okay, sentiments are silly in the sense that I know that there's separation. I know that there is separation between me and the tree and my healing and the tree's healing. It's not the same thing. It's not even close. But there's a part of me that's sentimental about it, and it matters to me because of that. So if I do decide that I'm done with the tree, what do I need to do to actually be able to quit? And here are some things I was thinking about. We should probably reframe it because quitting, well, the word quit gets a bad rep, which is where we started. It doesn't have to be quitting, because instead of quitting on that tree, I could take a clipping from it and do something different with it. I could see this point as I'm actually pivoting. I'm actually moving in a different direction right now. It's not about saving this tree. It's just about observing this tree, perhaps, which is what I've been doing. I've just been watching it get more and more infested. But I could reframe the way that I'm thinking about this so that it's not a failure, so that it's not a quit. I can also look for a way to honor it. So the clipping could be a way of honoring the sentiment that I have to the tree. But honestly, right now I have to really just come down and make a decision. And it's not about pros and cons for me, because I don't typically make decisions in that way. It's about checking in with my intuition, checking in with myself, thinking about all those things that are going on in my life, and deciding, do I want to invest in this tree? Is this tree worth the investment that it may take? Because quite honestly, and this is the case with most things, we don't know how it's going to turn out. I could do all of this investment and be in this same place in a year from now. Or I could do all this investment to cure this tree, and in a year it could be super healthy and I could have a full tree of lemons. And that's one of the things that I say to my couples in session is, you don't know. You don't know what this is going to turn out, or how this is going to improve, or what's going to come of this investment. How do you decide if it's worth it? And my thinking, because I'm a marriage therapist, is relationships are always worth it. Marriage is always worth the effort. There's always something more. And I mean, if there's a caveat there, of course, which we won't get into. And if you're not sure if that is your situation and you're not sure, please get professional help. Please reach out. There's so many skilled professionals in the world doing such good work and helping people. And this podcast isn't about that. This podcast is education, information, things to think about. It's not meant to replace professional advice. But I am of the opinion that relationships almost always are worth it. Lemon trees, maybe not so much. I would love to hear from you. Let me know. Do you think I should put the energy into saving the plant? Should I deal with it and get rid of it so I don't have to think about it anymore? Or do I just leave it? Right? I feel like I've got 3 options. That's what I've been doing lately. I've just left it. I'm just observing it because I'm not ready to make a decision. But today, when I was thinking about talking with y'all, I was thinking, today I want to make a decision about the lemon tree. I want to know, do I want to quit on the lemon tree? So I would love to hear if you think I should. I'm so glad you joined me on The Art of Plenty. Have a lovely day.